and patrolling and, watching their neighborhood and then reporting to the citizens on patrol who are then reporting to the police department. So that's the first part of my presentation. I would ask someone from the Brantford Police to talk a little bit to the downtown BIA about a Citizens on Patrol program, if there's one active in the core now, if there are patrols in the downtown core, and if not, how could this BIA potentially promote the Citizens on Patrol program in the downtown, and what does that look like?
Sergeant Parker, would you like to respond to that?
I'm going to defer this to Inspector Bell Sampson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Inspector Bell Sampson. Sorry, I'm kind of in the background here. Thank you, Councillor Wall. With respect to the Citizens on Patrol program, I'm just going to kind of qualify this a little bit off the front by saying it's been affected by COVID. We don't have our Citizens on Patrol deployed right now, but that is within the next month, hopefully going to be rectified. Typically how our program works is the volunteers, strictly volunteers, and Councillor Wall is correct in that they do have a vehicle, they are in uniform, they will have, I guess, their own little dispatcher. He's more of an organizer when they do end up going out on patrol. So they pick their patrols. However, it is managed, suggested by the overseer of the program. His name is Sergeant Jordan Schmutz. He will oversee the priority areas where we want them to deploy to. One of which has already been discussed internally here is Eagle Place, as well as the downtown core, which they historically, prior to COVID, were deployed into. So they are definitely a resource that we can tap into. They are non-confrontational. They are eyes and ears only. They will call us at every single situation that they see. They are directed not to intervene whatsoever. That's for their safety. A lot of those members are elderly and they're volunteers. They're not trained to intercede by any stretch of the imagination. So that is kind of the process there. Now, the neighborhood associations function completely independently with the Citizens on Patrol, and I know we do have a few of the from Eagle Place specifically that are interested in joining our Citizens on Patrol, which is a great thing. But we have almost 4 layers. We have the neighborhood associations that work independently. Then we have the Citizens on Patrol that work with us. Then we have auxiliary members, which are also going to be deploying again, after COVID shortly as well. And then we have the sworn membership. So we do have those 4 layers there that hopefully, Sergeant Smutch has been, working with the neighborhood associations to get them to that next level as well with respect to the Citizens on Patrol. So again, there's 4 levels that we hope to engage, the 3 levels that we hope to engage the public to assist us with our deployment. Does that answer your questions, Councillor Wall?
Yes, perfectly. The only thing I was hoping we could touch on is if you had any information regarding Citizens on Patrol in the core, and has it been done before?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, they deploy constantly in the core, as well as Homedale. Those are the specific 3 that they have been targeting. Will be adding Eagle Place, but historically it's been the core and Homedale, and any other spots that we call hot spots at the time. Over the last 3 years. They would be deployed there. And it is, we will get a hotspot, is what we call it, through a website. We will deploy the Citizens on Patrol to that area. So this is obviously one of the areas that once they, become functioning again, we will deploy to.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So the next thing I want to lead into is just how could our BIA be a leader in starting a downtown watch program for business owners, for residents of the core, to work together in partnership with Laurier, Conestoga, the Downtown Central Neighborhood Association, and other key partners in the core, even if it is something like, signs or stickers going up in residents and businesses saying that, we are part of a downtown watch, we report suspicious activity. How could we work together with Brantford Police to promote and encourage a program like Citizens on Patrol, and for people who live in the core who want to be an active part of securing and making the neighborhood more safe and working together with the police and the constables. I know that Laurier and Conestoga must have safety initiatives that they're running with their students on campus. How can this BIA work better with Conestoga and Laurier to make students feel safer? Through that, make residents and shoppers feel safer in the core. So I want to leave it at that for any open discussion on it. This is not something I'm going to step away from. I want this to be an ongoing agenda item about initiatives that the Downtown BIA is taking to promote public safety in the core, and updates from our partners on initiatives or programs or ways that we could support. I genuinely believe that this Citizens on Patrol program, partnered with a Downtown Watch program, could, add a layer of the perception of safety. And I think, perceived safety is important. People need to feel safe, and knowing that somebody's watching can make an area feel safer and encourage more people. Okay. So the second part of my presentation was from this BIA. We're coming into a very complicated 2021 budget for the city of Brantford. And I'm asking every member who's here today that if you want to see more funds allocated to mental health programs, homelessness programs, police initiatives, outreach programs, I'm asking each person here today to draft a letter in support of an initiative or funding towards those programs. I made a very public post in the Eagle Place Watch group to the 1,200 members there as their member of council. And I said, if you want to see these initiatives, there needs to be funding, and there needs to be, I want to go to council during the budget with a digital folder to be able to share with my colleagues of stories and ideas and initiatives that the people of the community I represent want to see. And going on social media, or just talking about it amongst each other, I need black and white. I need something to be able to hand and say, the people I represent want this. So I understand that the BIA itself could write a letter of support to council saying, we want to see you supporting more programs and initiatives and more funding towards this, that, and the other thing. But I'm asking the members and anybody who is watching this live stream that if you want to see the kind of initiatives that are going to make our downtown safer, put it in writing to council and tell us that you want to see us commit to promoting these programs and supporting them financially, and that's something that you want. And then delegations. I want to see more people speaking up at the meetings, especially to your police services board. I know that many people know that the police services board exists. You can appear and you can speak to the representatives of the police services board. If you want to see more police presence in the core, you have to tell them. You can send them letters, you can contact your representatives. If their agendas are published just like our agendas, if you have comments or feedbacks, or you want to appear as a delegation. And then finally—
1 minute, Councillor Wall.
Pardon?
1 minute, thank you.
Oh, well, I'm done, so that's great. My final thing was, I wanted to continue to have an open conversation with the Brantford Police through the BIA, through this, they're on our agenda anyway, but safety in the downtown is paramount to everybody who lives, loves, works in the downtown. And I'm sure it's paramount to this BIA. And we need to be a key active player in promoting initiatives and programs and supporting, initiatives that other organizations are taking. And finally, the outreach team. We did it before, and I want to push again for an outreach team. With Citizen Watch, Citizens on Patrol, and an outreach team and Brantford Police, we can genuinely make the kind of impact that we want to see in the core. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Okay, we'll move on to 6.2, our new website. And I'm wondering, Annette, can you give us some background on this, please? Sorry.
So there had been talk about our website and how it had missing features. There was things that we didn't have control over. There was some, we had taken it back from the original creator, but there wasn't things that we could do. We couldn't change the homepage. Pretty well, the only thing we could really do was update business information, add businesses, delete businesses, add events, that kind of thing. So we had asked our marketing company, All Day Breakfast, to submit a proposal for a new website, which they did. And it came within the purchasing policy of under $3,000, which means that we could automatically go with them. We didn't have to go to RFP. So that's what the executive committee did. I can list off everything that they're going to do for us if that's what you would like.
Thank you.
As part of their proposal, they are going to do this domain setup and transfer. The required design and photography. Pages included will be a home, about, BIA info, blog, events, searchable directory. One admin will be able to update it. Training support will be included. Any monthly content updates would be extra. So if we had other items that we wanted put on there, that would be extra. And then they said having full control over a new site would drastically enhance what we are able to do for the BIA. The current website, he talked about making a change to the homepage slider image, which was requested. And he was nervous about doing that because he could delete it, but then wasn't sure if he could add something. So we would have a blank page on the website. So we would keep our current website until all of this is done, and then we would go live with the new site. That's all I have.
Thanks, Annette. Does anyone have any questions? Ben is with us from All Day Breakfast this morning. Does anyone have any questions about the website? No, seeing none. Okay, that was it. Oh, sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Sorry, I used the reaction button. Just on an ETA, about how long does All Day Breakfast think it'll be for them to get it up and running?
Ben, are you available?
I am, and there we go.
Thank you.
And out in the kitchen. So we're probably about a month away from that. We've got notes together and some design options put together. So we just need to review that, and then we will get started at actually creating the website. But we figure we're about a month away, as long as everything gets approved and everything's able to fall in place.
Terrific, thank you.
Any others? Seeing none, thank you very much, Ben and Annette. Okay, we'll move on to 6.3, the downtown task force request to the city. I'm going to ask John to present this this item. John O'Neill.
Hi, you hear me? Yep.
Yes, thanks,
Good.
John.
Yep. The document on 6.3 is somewhat of a catch-all for comments that have been made by members of the BIA to myself and to other members of the board. So I don't want to spend too much time on each individual one, but the strategy as I see it is there's a letter going out to the city and to the police services board and to the MPP for additional support for the police with budgeting this year. It's a concern that with COVID and the tightness of funds in the city, that the city may go back to what they were doing in the past, where they weren't paying. They were paying an amount that was less than inflation for several years, which is reducing the budget, and we don't want them to fall back onto that pattern. At the same time, starting this committee gets a dialogue from the city and allows us to have a way of bringing these concerns directly to the two perceived members of council beyond this task force. and allow us to express that in a more detailed manner in a task force setting. Hopefully the result will be additional support for the police. We could, as that matter, include homeless programs, have all of these items on the table, including mental health. So that's how I see us moving forward and having any success with improving how things are looked at downtown. I don't want to spend too much more time on it because I think it's mostly self-explanatory. So if anybody has any questions, I'll take what they want.
Are you presenting the motion, John?
Yeah, I mean, a motion to for the BIA board to recommend the BIA board management request the City of Brantford form a downtown task force to investigate and resolve issues located with unsafe and desirable downtown. So that would be the motion. Chairman?
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Bill, thank you. Now, move into discussion. Any discussion on the motion? White, go ahead.
This task force, the Downtown Action Committee before the DAC was very useful for things, and that fell by the wayside. And after that, we lost I would say any actions that was going on or any contact with things going on. So the task force has to have a purpose for sure to do things, but want to make sure that that we do that. I just don't understand why that Downtown Action Committee was disbanded or didn't put together anymore. I thought it was a very useful source for us to know what was going on within the Corps and have input and the rest of it. I don't know how everybody else feels, but.
Thank you, Dwight. Councillor Wall.
If anybody else wants to speak, I'll allow them to go first. But once everyone is done speaking, I'd like to move an amendment.
Okay. Carrie Korfman.
I just want to say on Dwight's point that the DAC was created to administer the incentives, and once the incentives were gone, then DAC's their mission was accomplished. So that's why, but on Dwight's point, I don't know why it wasn't rolled over into some sort of action committee. Like he said, that would have been good. Change the mission of the committee. But, oh shoot, I had another point, slipped my mind. Okay, never mind. I'll come back if I remember.
Okay.
Too early.
Go ahead, Councillor Wall.
Excellent, thank you. My amendment is simple. Clause 2 reads that the Board of Management are of the opinion, whereas Clause 3 does not, even though Clause 3 is an opinion. I'd like to see Clause 3 removed, and then I'll be prepared to support this motion. Seeking a seconder.
Sorry. Seeking a seconder for the amendment. Carrie, are you seconding? Yes. Thank you. Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Beth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would support that amendment. When we talk about safety, there's safety and there's perceived safety. And I don't argue against the notion that one might perceive themselves to be unsafe downtown, but to declare it unsafe runs counter to the objectives of the BIA, which is to bring more folks down here. And I think it will only bolster some of the negative perceptions folks who aren't coming down already have and exaggerate them a bit. Not to say I don't support fully the notion that more work needs to be done, and I would fully support some concentrated resources to help downtown, especially in light of COVID. I know that the BIA merchants have been hit probably harder than a lot of folks right now. So just to put that there.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay. Seeing none, I will call for a vote on Councillor Wall's amendment to the motion by striking clause 3. All in favor? I'll take a show of hands. Thank you. Okay, and any opposed? Seeing none, then the motion is carried with the amendment. Thank you, Councillor Wall. Councillor Wall, I'm sorry.
Thank
Did you have something to say, Councillor Wall? Sorry.
Sure, actually, I didn't, but I will. I'll be very quick.
Okay.
This kind of motion is what I just spoke about, and I'm happy to support it now in its amended state. Thank you to the executive committee for wording it and for your passion and your support in wanting to make the downtown a safer and better place. I'll do whatever I can to help.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we can move on to. I'm sorry, Annette.
You need to vote on it as amended.
That's what I said.
So I've got the amendment vote. Now you need to vote as amended.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I thought I just called that, but can we do that again? Vote on the motion as amended. All in favor, please? And any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Am I good, Annette? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to 6.4, Laurier Brantford and Conestoga College Awards. Annette, I'm sorry, I know you're taking minutes, but could you speak to this as well?
As part of your package, for the last 5 years, we've given Laurier Brantford $1,000 that they've used for awards to business students. That agreement has come to an end, so they're asking us if we would like to renew that support. So at the executive meeting, the question came up whether Conestoga had that opportunity as well. So I included in your agenda package that yes, indeed, they do have awards. They also have business courses, which makes sense that the BIA support that. So if the board sees fit, we would need a motion to go ahead and make that approval or suggestion.
Okay. May I have someone on the board, if anyone wish to present this motion? Dwight?
I'll present that motion that
Thank
we
you.
continue on and add Conestoga College as well. And I guess it'd be for a 5-year term. That seems to be the way it is. $1,000 each.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Bill, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Erin?
I would just like to, on behalf of Conestoga College, Brantford campus, and the academic manager for the School of Business, we offer 13 programs in the downtown in the business program, and I'm happy to do whatever I can to support this initiative in being very clear on what the candidacy would look like and the criteria for either the award or the bursary. Award is somebody around academic success, where a bursary is someone in financial need. So there'll have to be some discussion around how you would like this to be developed. I am speaking on behalf of the executive dean, who was very thrilled to hear of this initiative. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote on the motion to for Laurier, Brantford, and Conestoga College awards of $1,000 each for 5 years. All in favor? And any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to move ahead to 7.1. Goggin.
Hi, everybody. Gagan Bacho, Senior Project Manager of Downtown Revitalization for the City of Brantford. I just wanted to quickly debrief and let everybody here know about some of the progress that we've made on the Downtown Streetscaping EA that I talked about a little bit the last time I was here. So I think a few of the people who are on this meeting actually attended the workshops that we held between August 18th and the 27th, which is great. Basically, the purpose of these workshops was to give folks a little bit more information about the process of the environmental assessment, just next steps, what they could expect. Our consultants also presented on different types of downtowns and the conditions that you currently see and things that they're going to be looking at. So this included showing the current conditions in terms of this on-street parking, pointing out different issues that we already see in downtown, such as loading, servicing limitations that we have, and you know, pointing those out and how we might be working with the underground and above ground infrastructure to address those. The workshops were held for 2 weeks, and because of the situation, we couldn't have more than 10 people in the room at the time. So because of that, we kind of tried to split everybody up in different groups. So, you know, we had folks from Conestoga present, we had folks from Laurier present, the library, Brantford Police, somebody from the BIA was there. You know, we had lots of different external stakeholders as well as internal staff who were able to speak to the design and different initiatives that might take place, and, you know, what people might want to see in downtown and how the configuration of streets might work. So a big part of that was to go through the activity of building their own cross sections and designing their own streets. A lot of the folks who attended focused on Colborne and Dalhousie Street, and they basically had, you know, a 20-meter cross section to work with, and people were told, you know, use these kind of cutout stickers and put them on the board to show what your ideal streets would look like in downtown. So, you know, we split folks up into different groups, and then they worked together to create their own cross sections. And I did send notes to Annette and Barbara about the meeting and some of the different questions and discussions that came out of it. A lot of the different things we saw in terms of the discussion and concerns that people brought up were, you know, if we convert to two-way traffic on Colborne and Dalhousie, which is a consideration that this environmental assessment is going to be looking at. So it might be a recommendation that comes from this EA, I'm not sure yet, but that's one of the considerations it's going to take. But one of the concerns that came out was, how will this impact loading, unloading, buses that go down Colborne Street? How is it going to impact traffic flows? How are you going to divert traffic if that were to happen? So that's just one of the questions that came out of it. And you know, there was a lot of really great discussion that came from it. And, you know, we were able to gather a lot of really fantastic feedback from all of the different stakeholders. You know, Laurier and Conestoga, with expected, you know, projected growth in the future, they were able to weigh in on their needs and requirements and student safety and those types of things. So it was some really positive feedback that we gathered, and the next steps would be for our consultants to take all of that information, all of those cross sections that were created, and distill those and come up with themes to figure out, you know, what are the different options that we might move forward with and actually present at a later date. Which we can obviously share at a later point when they get closer to that, and also developing evaluation criteria. So some of the other things that came out was, how are we addressing climate change? Traffic is obviously a huge issue, parking and capacity for pedestrians, increasing foot traffic in the downtown, safety, social disorder, all of these were huge points that came up. So taking all of those and developing that evaluation criteria so we know how to weigh the different options. So that was just, in a nutshell, the different things that we were working on in the past couple of weeks. I did chat with Annette and Barbara very briefly, but we are going to give the BIA another opportunity to participate. And since it was very hands-on, the folks who attended can speak to it. It was a very hands-on activity. I'm just kind of trying to think of the best way to go forward virtually. So I think that there is a way, and we can talk about it offline later, but we can share more information with the BIA about that and how to get more involved in that process so that business community can offer their feedback on the different cross sections as well.
Thank you, Gagan. That's great. Any questions of Gagan? Dwight, go ahead.
I'd like to ask Gagan, this is supposed to be a downtown study, but the full study area is right up to Pauline Johnson Collegiate there with Doozy and Colburn Street. I look at the close-up of the study area. Part 1 is the downtown as far as we know it, yet this is also taking in like study area part 2. I just wonder why we didn't just stay focused on the downtown.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reason for that is basically because we're taking such a close look at the underground infrastructure, and one of the components of the environmental assessment is potentially changing the capacity of the roadway. So currently the one-way begins at that junction, which is up by Pauline Johnson. So since it starts from there, that's where the study area has to start, because we can't just convert traffic to two-way from the downtown. It would have to extend beyond from where the one-way begins. So that's why we're focusing our study area to that junction. Whatever we apply to the downtown core might be applied later on to the area that's closer to the junction as well.
John, you have a question?
The city is committed to building an expressway, which will have a significant impact on traffic. And if we're studying traffic flows today, based on the history we have, how are we factoring in the reduction in traffic with this expressway coming in that will make it more feasible to deal with a two-way traffic rather than continue on with one-way traffic? Have they factored in the reduction in traffic on the one-way streets with the addition of the expressway? And if so, how would it reduce traffic by the estimates by 50%, 40%? What kind of numbers are you dealing with?
So you're talking about Oak Park Road?
Well, it's been a number of different expressways in my lifetime, but I think the city of Brantford, the people of Brantford, are expecting this to be completed.
Right.
Well, maybe not in my lifetime, but sooner than later.
Yeah, so there are actually a couple of studies taking place concurrently to the downtown streetscaping one. The other one that I'm involved with in project managing is the 3 Grand River crossings. So, any recommendations for fixing or repairing Lorne Bridge and the pedestrian crossings, that's also going to have an impact on traffic flow into the downtown because it leads directly to downtown and it provides that connection. The Oak Park Road study also is being undertaken at the same time, and one thing that we're trying to make clear is that these studies are all going to be talking to each other. So even though they're all taking place at the same time, they're not independent of one another. So the results or the findings from the traffic study from Oak Park Road is going to lead into the downtown project, because all of these studies that are taking place, the recommendations and the results from them will feed into one another. And of course, like if Oak Park Road happens and that ends up diverting traffic from downtown, that's going to have a huge impact. So the different studies that are taking place are going to look at all of those different scenarios, including what traffic is currently like, and also any potential impact of Oak Park Road extension or whatever changes to Lorne Bridge that might be coming, any impact of those and how that might impact the downtown core in that study. So short answer is it's all going to be connected, and we're looking at everything alongside one another.
John, did you have another question?
The a number of councillors opposed to two-way streets are on record. Councillor Weber talked to CTV News out of Kitchener, quoting numbers of high levels of traffic that comes across the Lorne Bridge and requiring a one-way street to maintain that traffic, which actually wasn't supported by the actual numbers from engineering. But it's a great concern that that the impact of an expressway, which will be a major factor affecting the traffic on Colborne and Dalhousie for the two-way versus one-way conversation, has to be included as a major factor that would make the two-way street conversion more palatable. So my concern is that we actually have a hard number that this expressway will reduce traffic by this volume, this percentage number. I'd be curious to hear what that number is my question.
Yeah, there is a traffic study happening right now for the Oak Park Road extension. That EA also, similar to this one, is just in its early stages. So the first PIC is going to be happening, I believe, in the fall, maybe at the end of the year. But that's something that my team in engineering services is also working on. So for sure, like, any results from that traffic study are going to feed into this study as well.
Okay, Bill, you had a question?
Yes. Has anybody considered two-way streets will mean there won't be any on-street parking? Or it'll be limited to one side? Like, parking's an issue right now. We need more parking. It's all going to be gone.
For
right?
sure. So in building the cross sections, there were so many. I think we have like over 20 different cross sections and images of the downtown as people built them. So there are all different types of compositions and configurations that people did. You know, we saw everything from one-way traffic, one lane traffic, and no parking, to pedestrians only, to you know, 2 lanes of traffic, to, you know, two-way traffic, 1 lane each, parking on both sides. There's a lot of different things, and it was really dependent on the different conversations that came out from it, and, you know, the different stakeholder groups. Of course, like, some folks really, for their whoever they were representing as an organization, preferred it one way over the other, and that's why I think, like, in some way the COVID situation actually benefited us, because we were able to have the smaller group sizes, so the conversations were a little bit more enhanced, and, you know, we had that real good dialogue going on. But yeah, there was a lot of different cross sections, and I believe that was one of them.
Bill, go ahead.
So is there a way to have two-way traffic with parking on both sides?
Yeah. That's something that our, you know, consultant can go more into detail on, with the engineering components, and looking at the different things that might happen and how that might impact traffic, and, you know, loading, unloading, those types of things. But that was one of the things that came out of it, that is possible.
All right.
It just depends on the main purpose of these cross-section building is just to, you know, demonstrate to people that if you want things one way, you might have to sacrifice pedestrian access, or you might have to sacrifice bike lanes, or you might have to sacrifice one thing over another. Like, just showcasing that we only have this wide of a cross-section street to work with, and really people giving preference to the different elements that they wanted to see, and just showcasing how you can't really have 2 lanes of traffic, or sorry, 2-way traffic, parking on both sides, plus gigantic pedestrian walkways. Just, it doesn't fit in the area. So if that were the case, then, you know, you would have to sacrifice something else, like maybe bike lanes would have to be sacrificed, or maybe pedestrian walkways would have to be more narrow. So how does that impact the overall design of downtown? It's more so about, you know, a lot of people did get into the nitty-gritty, but it was a lot more about placemaking and what the theme and vision of downtown is. Do we want to keep it car vehicle centric, or do we want to give more pedestrian capacity?
Thank you, Gagan. I think just in the interest of time, thank you, Gagan, very much for being with us this morning. Gagan is going to try and arrange something virtual so we can we can spend a little more time on this and perhaps prepare our questions for Goggin at a future date. And thank you very much for your presentation. Okay. All right, we'll move on to 7.2. Karen Teller, Conestoga College.
Yes, I'll just give a brief update about startup for fall 2020. The college has made a decision that any of the theoretical courses and programs that can be delivered online are being delivered online, and that includes our programs at the downtown Brantford campus. So at this point, both 50 Wellington and 274 Colburn Street are closed and not accessible to students or to faculty. They have security present in both those locations to monitor the buildings. The airport, just so that you're aware, that runs the heavy equipment operator program will be continuing on. So any of the applied pieces that need to happen will be happening, but with very, very strict guidelines in place by our pandemic committee. And that also includes the ECE building on Clarence Street, where there's a staged approach in how students will be accessing that particular building for only the curriculum that's very child-centric, that can't be delivered online.
Thanks, Karen. Any questions of Karen? Seeing none, thank you, Karen. 7.3, Brooke from Laurier.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Just a few updates this morning. So currently we are hosting our virtual orientation week, and that will end this Friday. We also have our virtual concert series this Thursday, in which Laurier has partnered with a number of post-secondary institutions across Ontario. And the headliner for that event is Lennon Stella, if anybody is aware of that name. From an optional survey, which we had published as a students' union this summer, we do know that there is a significant portion of students still living in off-campus housing in Brantford, although we are not able to give an exact number of that just because it was an optional survey. And then my last update is that the Students' Union offices in Brantford remain closed, and our return date to campus is still to be determined.
Thank you, Brooke. Okay, seeing no hands, I'm going to move on to 7.4, Brantford Police Service. We welcome Sergeant Chris Grantham. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everybody. I have been here the whole time. I just can't share the frame here. There's only so much space for one of us. So I'll just go over a few things for just last month. That's our most recent month. We do have a number of initiatives that we're carrying out on. Blake Vokey had several locations in the downtown core that he was assigned to where we were getting information about the sale of illegal substances. He has gone through watching video and things of that nature, and there's no grounds to obtain a search warrant at those locations at this point. Obviously, like it's been mentioned before, if there's information, we need it. So same with Citizens on Patrol, auxiliary, Crime Stoppers, all these things, we need this information to be able to act on it. If we can act on it immediately, then we get to it as soon as we can. But if we don't have the information, then we can't do anything with it, obviously. On that note, John Balone and Chad Johnson were out on foot patrol. This is probably within a couple of weeks. They went into one of our stores to issue a caution because they had received information about the sale of illicit cannabis. They walked in, things were in plain view. So as such, they secured the location. We ended up, while we were clearing it, we found another substance which we believe to be a different illegal substance. So at that point, we had to freeze it and get a Controlled Drugs and Substance Act search warrant. So they did that. They seized quite an amount of illicit cannabis, some suspected cocaine, and other items that were made for the edibles for marijuana. There should be a news release going out for that. Obviously, the safety aspect is the most important thing, because the illicit cannabis, people don't know what's actually in that. So it's not, like, anyone can just make it. So you don't know what is in there, what you're getting. Obviously, we've had in the past, and not saying that this store in particular, but we've seen before where fentanyl can be mixed in, cocaine, things like that. So we have no control over that. So it's a push more for safety to make sure people are buying it from the proper sources. This is typically our street crime unit mandate that takes care of this. So they kind of went above and beyond that. Doing a drug warrant isn't a quick and easy thing. It's actually very involved, takes a lot of time. And then for the whole day afterwards, they were cataloging seized property, putting in reports and things like that. So it does take a lot of time, unfortunately. The arrests, if you look at the arrests for August, as all versus the amount of sworn officers that are out on the road. And obviously calls for service typically will take priority depending on what they are. But our beat guys are very on top of the people in the Corps when they see people on arrests that have the outstanding warrants. Unfortunately, and this is something that's beyond any of our control, with our bail reform and things of that nature. In the past, when I first started, we could hold people and they would, spend some time in custody. You may see fluctuations in different property crime and things of that nature, but with bail reform, they're typically getting a piece of paper and they're back out on the street. So it's something that's a little bit frustrating for us at times, but that's what we have. We have to work with that now. So it's beyond our control. On that note, another one particular day, John Balone and Blake Vokey made 3 separate arrests for wanted persons, which was it's 3 arrests in one day is pretty good. It does put a dent in some of the activity downtown. We did have another suspect that was involved in a number of property damage incidents. We put some time into that, and Blake Vokey at one point took the initiative. We got one of our plane door vehicles for a little bit of surveillance. And then once he left his residence, he was able to arrest him without incident. So this individual was responsible for, I want to say 5 or 6 different incidents in the Corps. And it started escalating to where they would go into the businesses. They were making threats, and they assaulted one of the owners at one point. And at that point, as it began escalating from property crime, we were able to devote a little bit more time and resources into that. So I don't have the status on that individual, if they've been released or not. I could probably look into that, but if anything, they will have some conditions not to attend those specific stores, but that's something that our victim services would reach out to those individual victims to let them know that they've been released and that those are the conditions, just so that they're aware of that. Emergency Operations Center, John Balone continues assisting with that. Different things for COVID-19. He's also still liaising with the AGCO and bylaw, which we're starting to see some issues with some of our businesses that serve alcohol because of COVID reappearing, or sorry, the COVID restrictions have been lifted to some degree. So as we keep moving forward, hopefully, we're seeing a little bit more issues with that we're devoting some resources to as well. Again, with COVID-19, it's kind of derailed our joint ventures with bylaw and the AGCO. So that'll be starting up soon. With the COVID-19, we spoke with this, Councillor Wall, you spoke about this earlier, and Inspector Bell Sampson brought it up with the different ways and the different layers that we have. One of our initiatives that has been derailed is our auxiliary program to augment the downtown for more boots on the ground, where we'd have the auxiliaries that are specially trained for riding the bikes and come out with our members for beat. So we can kind of double it up, where if we have 2 beat members working, we can then split them up and have an auxiliary with each, so we have more coverage. So that's been derailed because of COVID-19, but that's something that as we're starting to get more return to normal. So I'm not sure about the timeline on that. I'm hoping within the month that we're going to have that start coming to fruition where we have them out there on the streets. So it'll just take time to get the training done and get them out there. 2 more issues. Our panhandlers, if you want to call them that, at the different intersections. That we've had a drop in those with our enforcement on that and a caution. So they started with cautions and now they've advanced up to charges under the Safe Streets Act. So we've seen that drop in the core, but unfortunately they're just being pushed out to other areas of the city. So up at 300 King George Road, down on Market South, we're seeing that a little bit more. But obviously our main concern, our primary concern for the beats is the core. So unfortunately it's just displacing them. But we're seeing some results with that, and now our uniform members are starting to pick up on that. One final issue, if I could bring up, is the trespassing issue and the signage. So I've talked to Annette about this, extending this to the members, and we have received a number of the letters authorizing us to act on their behalf under the Trespass Property Act. The signage is helping a lot. The letters are helping after hours, so we can legally move people along. Again, people hanging out on the sidewalk, we started getting into charter issues and collection of identifying information, which serves to hamper us. But trespassing, if they're on the property, we have authorization, it's signed, we can act on that. If we have to make an arrest, we can do that, we can charge. We've started out with the warnings, and now we're moving on to charges as well, and possibly arrest, depending on the situation. I think that's all I have for you guys at this point. If anyone has any questions at all, concerns.
Thank you, Chris. Carrie has a question.
Hi, Chris. Sorry. I'm just wondering, what charges are you charging them with? Because I think our harassment bylaw still has no charges attached to it, does it not? Am I correct?
I have to look into that for sure, but I'm pretty sure we do have the short form wordings for that now. No, okay, so we're still waiting for the short form wordings on that. We're going into the Trespass to Property Act. So the Trespass to Property Act actually does have provisions for arrest, which is very helpful. Different situations where they're failing to leave when directed, or they're engaging in that prohibited activity, they're failing to identify themselves, things like that, which is where we can start arresting. So it just feels like it has more teeth for the people that are there and causing the issues.
Okay, so
ultimately,
the harassment bylaw you are getting.
Sorry, pardon me?
The harassment bylaw is being followed up on in that sense, that there are going to be charges attached to it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Or nuisance bylaw, I meant, sorry. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there's no arrest authorities under that act. So there's no obligation technically to identify themselves. So it just kind of, it's better to have, like you look at Trespass Property Act, Liquor License Act, if they have open alcohol in public, if they're failing to identify, we've got arrest authorities. So those have a little bit more teeth to them, that's all.
Thank you, Chris. Dwight, did you have a question? Go ahead.
I just had a comment. I wanted to thank Chris very much. The downtown, the community policing initiative is really working out well there. I just wish our legal system would back up their policing effort, because it's quite frustrating in lots of areas there with the way the judicial system works. I know that for a fact. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate your being here. Thank you. City Council updates. Councillor Wall.
I think I've covered everything for now, unless anybody has any specific questions.
Okay, I don't think I see any. Thank you, Councillor Wall. All right. We'll move on.
Sorry, Barbara. Yes, I have.
I'm sorry, Carrie.
Sorry, I had my hand up. In redoing our website, I just want to make note that the city, their link on the economic development website for the downtown is out of date. So I'm hoping Ben can maybe work with the city to get pertinent information put on there. Right now, you go to the downtown link and it just shows the incentives and all that, which are no longer. So I think we just need to bring that up to date more.
Thank you.
Suggestion there. And then the incentives, I know that the mayor talked about new incentives for the downtown, and I was just wondering if those are being worked on, and if we're going to be seeing those come about.
Perhaps Councillor Wall or Annette can find out who our contact is at the city to make those changes, right? Okay, thank you. All right, I don't believe James is with us from the library. May Lake, you're up.
Thanks, Barbara. Good morning, everyone. We're the BRC staff. We're back in the office since July 6th, closed to the public, but we are taking appointments, in-person appointments if people want them, but we're mostly working with clients through email and video conferencing and by phone. But we have seen a really uptick in the number of consults. We had 41 in July and another 40 in August. So we have a lot of people who are interested in, and a lot of those are business startups. So we're happy to see that. And some more news, Julie Perkins, our small business consultant, moved on to another position. It was with Laurier as their Launchpad coordinator. So she started in that position on August 10th. So that job is going to be posted soon. The BRC is actually our Starter Company Plus program. We had to restructure it because of COVID, and we're running it in cohorts. Our first cohort was June, started in June, ran to the end of August. We had 16 people participating. All of our workshops are webinars at this point. And we have I think 3 or 4 who are going to present to the grant committee later this month. The second cohort is starting this week. We have 30 people signed up for the Starter Company Plus orientation. So the Starter Company grant, once again, is a grant of $5,000 for business startups or businesses who have been operating less than a year. At the last meeting, I believe I said we weren't going to be administering the summer company program this summer just because of COVID. So we will be able to redirect those grant funds, which is $30,000 into Starter Company. And right now we're in the process of developing a small business recovery program that is still in the works. I hope to have more information about that in the next week. Hope to launch actually in the next week. And that will be for existing businesses. And that will be grant funds for them. Just helping to start up and money that they've had to spend because of pivoting because of COVID. We are firming up details also about another program, a food venture program. We've seen a lot of clients come into the office who have food products that they are creating and they want to take to shelves of stores. So this program, it goes through actually launching the product, sanitization, labeling, nutrition. So once again, hopefully I can get you more news in the next week because we want to kick off that program in September as well. Last but not least, Digital Main Street, our Digital Service Squad program ended August 31st. We're looking at reapplying at this moment, and I hope to have more details with that in the next week as well. Digital Transformation Grant, the $2,500 grant for business owners who they can apply directly to the Ontario BIA. That is open, and if you know anybody who wants to apply, we can help them with the application process, and they have till I believe November to apply for that. And that's everything.
That's excellent. Thanks, May. What a tremendous resource for our businesses. Thank you. We don't have Christian with us from the city of Brantford, but we do have Beth Gurney from Wilfrid Laurier.
Good morning, thank you. So as Brooke mentioned, our students are back. We had official move-in for residents last weekend. The numbers are significantly slower due to COVID-19. We've restricted students to live 1 per restroom as opposed to multiple students in an apartment suite with maybe only 1 or 2 bathrooms. But they are back, and move-in was very controlled, augmented over 2 days. I'm sure most of you downtown know it's usually a colorful, loud flurry in one day, but it had to be a little more tame this year just to make sure that we could respect social distancing protocols. Our classes do remain mostly online or remote. The virtual environment, however, hasn't stopped, as Brooke mentioned, some of our students from moving back to the community. So we're glad to have them back. We have reminded them, as has public health in both Brantford and Waterloo, of their obligations as members of the community to work hard. We know that Brantford Brant has done a really good number of keeping their transmission numbers low, and we want to maintain that trend. The Launchpad at Brantford, some of you are familiar, it's our entrepreneurship sort of hub. It's an incubator for new and expanding businesses. The model was sort of generated in Waterloo and applied in Brantford, which didn't always work, because the big difference here, Waterloo, you had to be a student or an alumni to take advantage of this program. And in Brantford, we've always, because it's our core philosophy here, had a porous relationship with community. So community members are welcome as well. And we've found that the uptake has actually been higher with community. So we've made some changes to Launchpad, one of which is alluded to, involved poaching a member of the BRC team to lead it. And we've had some really good strategic planning sessions to make sure that the Launchpad in Brantford is distinct and that it really serves the needs of local community, and that we are helping to support ventures that will help the community in many ways, not just employment, but also creating a more vibrant downtown and a more vibrant Brantford. So we do expect to have more information. We had one of those sessions last week, so we're going to distill all of that and solidify the direction, and you'll be seeing some things in the press in the next, probably before the end of the month. The Laurie Brantford YMCA officially reopened yesterday. I drove by last evening and there were a few people on the Colburn Street level making use of the gym. So that's nice to see. Students, like all other YMCA members, have to book their time. But we anticipate, because things are so controlled in residence, that there probably will be some students wanting that opportunity to have a physical outlet.
It's starting earlier now, right? Like 7:30 orders are coming in.
Carrie, sorry, could you turn your microphone off, please?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if she was referring to the hours at the Laurie Brantford YMCA. So that's good to see. And we do have some planning in the works also for 2 study spaces on the Brantford campus. So this would give students, whether they're on campus or off campus, the opportunity to access a study space. Again, lots of restrictions. They'd be required to complete a self-assessment and show that they've been cleared to enter campus. But those won't be launched likely until late September, definitely ahead of the fall reading week. And the other thing I want to mention is, even though things are quite quiet, work on One Market does continue. And we've had a lot of really good strategic planning sessions over the summer with some external consultants on that to further refine the vision for that space. I welcome the opportunity to maybe have Dr. Northwood come to the BIA or at least to the executive at some point to share the refined plans. But it's very exciting. It's a lot of space to animate, and our focus is ensuring not just that it's a hub for students that becomes a drawing card for the campus, but also something that benefits the entire community by bringing more folks downtown. So those would be my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Beth. Any questions of Beth? Seeing none, thank you. We'll move on to 7:10. It's external committee updates. Does anyone have an update from one of their committees that they're sitting on? No, times are different. I don't think everyone's been meeting. Carrie, is that a comment?
I was just wondering when the meetings will be starting again, like the economic development and the tourism meetings both have not been running. I just wondering if Joshua maybe can answer that, what the plan is.
I apologize. I don't have the answer to that question. A lot of committee meetings are still not meeting. I could send an email into clerks and see what their plan is. But yeah, it's everything right now that I've seen so far. Sorry.
Okay, if you can find out, that'd be great.
Annette, did you have a comment?
I think some of them are running or canceled due to lack of quorum. I've seen agenda packages come out and things like that, and then meetings getting canceled.
No, the tourism has just been canceled, and the EDAC, I haven't received any notice except for that special meeting that was a couple weeks ago. But tourism, no, has been canceled with no agenda.
Right?
I understand that economic development and tourism were looking at their focusing their committees as such. So I don't know if there is going to be those meetings anymore.
Okay, so perhaps, Annette, could you possibly follow up with, I don't know, the clerk's department to find out what committees are meeting and when? Thank you. Okay. All right. Any further discussion, open discussion? Any concerns? Gary?
I hate to bring up the G word, but we welcomed the schools back this week, and I was quite appalled by the mess on the streets. I assumed that the city would come through and do the street sweeping, etc. On, I think it was Saturday, when a lot of the students were just arriving. The garbage hadn't even been picked up on Queen Street. The whole front street on Dalhousie was full of garbage for them to move into the Expositor building. We actually went out and swept the road because it was disgusting. I just wanted to make that comment that I wasn't pleased. Normally the city would come through and clean the downtown before the students arrive. And I just wanted to make note of the oversight there.
Okay, thank you. How would you like us to follow up with that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe just ask the city to, seeing as the students have returned, to keep up on the garbage.
Okay, so maybe that's a note from us to Public Works, garbage collection.
I know,
Yeah.
I think there's new people in the department, so perhaps it's a good idea that we meet with the new people, because I know we had connections with the people that used to be there, but they turned over their staff, so maybe it's a good idea to meet with them.
Okay. I know the mayor is anxious to meet with us to discuss garbage at any time, so we'll maybe we need to set that up with Mayor Davis as well. All right. So we're down to next meeting, October 14th, and via Zoom, as far as we know, at 8 a.m. again. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Got it.
Dwight, thank you. Second? John O'Neill, thank you everyone for attending. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.